the 6500 XT, which is in much contention, let's just go over some quick specs and facts. It only has a 64-bit memory bus, causing a bottleneck. Only uses 4 of the PCIe 4.0 and 3.0 lanes. Now, that might not be a big deal, but here's the thing. PCIe Gen 3 gives about 4 gigatransfers per second. PCIe 4.0 gives about 8 gigatransfers per second, which seriously cuts the GPU's performance. So that's about half. So if you're in PCIe 3.0 motherboard, which is still totally fine, but you put this 6500 XT in there, well, you know what? Screw you. So that's what they're basically doing. It's kind of, you got to be on 4.0 to get the full, just to be clear, it's not very powerful, but to get the full potential of it. Another thing is that there's no encode and no decode support or AV1 decode. If you guys don't know what that is, it's just video codec encoding and decoding, which kind of allows you to watch videos and such and maybe play DVDs, things like that. Netflix and YouTube will soon be adding AV1 options to allow for more efficient streaming and such. So here's the problem with that. After this video card has reached its end of life for being useful as a gaming card, it won't even be good as like a video output card in that sense, because moving on to the future, all these codecs won't be supported on this card. So it'll be all offloading onto the CPU or kind of shifting it around. It just won't be, it's just like, doesn't seem to be a very good card. Performance-wise, it turns out to be worse than an RX 588 gigabyte and worse than a GTX 1060 6 gigabyte. By the way, the 1060 is nearly 4 years old at this point. So AMD is releasing a new card that costs $200, which the MSRP ended up being around $270 to $300. You could buy one on Newegg right now, actually, if you wanted to. They're in stock. And yeah, man, so it's worse than something that came out 4 years ago for nearly the same price bracket. Yeah, the 1060's retail was what, $250, I think. It was under $300, I believe. And it's just like, okay, so this card basically can only exist in today's market. On top of all this, so AMD released an article a while back saying 4 gigabytes of VRAM isn't enough for gaming. And guess what? When that blog post was removed by AMD and people noticed, they promptly put it back up, being like, yeah, you caught us. Well, we didn't ever take that down. So that was pointed out by some other influencers and other news articles. And that was pretty funny because, yeah, 4 gigabytes isn't enough for gaming. We need at least 6 or 8 gigabytes, man. And then they go out and release this card. It's kind of like they got done making all the good burgers and they took all the leftover pieces and they just like squished it together and pooped out a card. Because, you know, people are going to buy it if it exists in this market. Pretty disappointing, guys. So, Andrew, what do you think about all that?
Honestly, I think it's an amazing card. I can't wait to get my hands on one. I'm going to run out right now and hopefully Micro Center still has some because I need one right now.
Yeah, you need to go get one right now. They're still open. If you go right now, they're open until 10 o'clock.
Honestly, I have a different opinion than most of the tech journalists. And that's just that right now, $200 is the MSRP. $200 doesn't get you anything else, basically. It doesn't get you anything else.
GT 710?
Yeah, like I think even like a 1050 Ti is more than. So, on eBay, used.
Yeah.
Or just the used market in general. But, I mean, I think for $200, if it's enough for you to finish building a gaming system, you can upgrade it down the road. I think it's okay. I think it's okay for that. Or a super budget gaming machine. I think you could probably make a rig for like $500 with this card. If you have like a 6-core AMD CPU, this graphics card, and a micro ATX motherboard, maybe like, I don't know what. You wouldn't even need more than like a 400 watt power supply, but like 500 watt power supply. I mean, I think that might be just a card that someone who isn't really into PC gaming could get into PC gaming on a really tight budget, almost like a throwaway card. And I know $200 isn't something you should just throw away, but in this market, it basically is. you don't get anything for $200. $300 is a different story, and unfortunately, we do see MSRPs up to $300. I think it's the Gigabyte triple fan card that is $299, and I don't recommend anybody buy that personally, just because this card doesn't need a cooler with 3 fans to begin with. It barely needs one with 2, and the $199 option is a single card fan, at least one of them. Single fan card, rather. But yeah, unfortunately, the encode and decode features that have been cut from it make it a little less than ideal for like a home theater PC, which, you know, in the past, a low-end card would be sufficient for, you know, for some couch gaming or streaming and stuff like that. But yeah, this kind of handicapped it by not having those features either. So with that being said, is 4 gigabytes enough for gaming? Honestly, I think it probably, I don't know. I mean, I would say if you play it on low enough settings, yeah, if you play it on low enough settings, I think most new games on low at 1080p probably use right at 4 gigs. But, you know, whether or not you're going to be exceeding that or not is going to affect your gameplay experience. So, you know, at least right now, right this minute, we are a week before the 3050 comes out, and not to bring that up, that's a topic for another day, but to have a card that is supposedly only $50 more MSRP with double the VRAM, I think it's definitely a time to wait and see, not run out and buy.
Yeah, 100%. And just to kind of touch on that, definitely I would wait till reviewers had a thorough opportunity to like fully test out the card. A lot of people try to get those day one reviews up, and maybe they haven't tested everything yet, because there's a lot of weird things that happen when you start, you know, trunicating cards like that, cutting the ability of the cards like that. For example, Magic Lucky has said that let me go look at the note here. He said that he saw a video of a reviewer saying that he's getting out of memory crashes trying to play Fortnite on a 6500 XT. So that might be related to something else, but like I said, when you start,
would be an issue with the, like, you just need to play it on low or something.
Yeah, like
you know, if you run it on high just because the frame rate is there, like even if it's capable of the frame rate, it might not have the capacity and memory or the texture packs that come with playing it on medium or high or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's 4 gigabyte memory buffer is not a lot, but I mean, it's totally fine for like every game. I'm sure every game will start on it. Like, how about that? Like, every game will play on it. As for the highest frame rates and all that, probably not. But
yes, so some games will, in the menu, in the video settings, will say, if you pick these settings, it's going to use this much VRAM. That's pretty useful for a card like this, because you are going to need to stay within that limit if you want to have it be playable. It's going to really slow down if you exceed it or otherwise crash.
Yeah, I mean, games like most modern games, when you go into the settings, it tells you how much VRAM it's going to take. And I mean, I got a 3090 and I don't get anywhere close to the 24 gigabytes of VRAM in that thing. I think the most I've ever seen is 8. Like, I forget what I was playing, maybe Doom Eternal or what was Halo or something. Never went past 8, at least in practical use for me. Just some stuff from the chat here. Magic Lucky says, a fully water-cooled 6500 XT rig has TekShinji's name on it, doesn't it? If you watch the Gamers Nexus teardown, I think you can literally just put, like, I don't know, an eyedropper on it, and that'll be sufficient water cooling, because the chip is like so tiny. It literally looks like we extracted it from an APU of a CPU of an AMD CPU, and then put it onto a board by itself, and then took away all of its features. I don't know. I'm just saying it kind of looks similar to that. It's a little bit better than the APU according to the Gamers Nexus review, but it's not really that much great. But back to Andrew's point about it being a decent value in the current market, I agree with that. It's just I'm the type of guy that doesn't like to spend money just to get away with it, because that money could just
it might be a decent value for the next 5 days, because Once that 3050 comes out, everything changes.
Dude,
Honestly,
I hope.
I think this, they're supposedly making a 6400 as well. I think this 6500 XT probably should have been the 6400.
Yeah, that would have made more sense actually. Like,
Yeah,
because the 6500 XT just seems like the new bottom GPU. If they make anything lower than that, I wouldn't give that to my kids. Like, no matter how bad they are. D-Miners in chat.
that's
Real quick,
what do you got?
D-Miners in chat says, I wouldn't do that to my son. What's up, TekShinji? How you doing, D-Miners? Thanks for coming by. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, like I think like when you look at a 5500 XT, the last generation X500 XT SKU had 8 gigs of VRAM. So it seems like a downgrade from the last generation, which is why I think it would have really only been appropriate if it were tiered down like a 6400, and it would have made sense. And if it were a little cheaper, fine. But honestly, I think in this market, a $200 GPU is a $200 GPU. I don't think we're going to see $100 GPUs or $150 GPUs.
Not new ones.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, I think that MSRP is a thing of the past anyway. That market, I don't think we need it, because any GPU that's ever come out, the real low end of every generation, is really a card you don't want. I'd rather have the last generation mid-tier than the current generation bottom of the barrel card.
Yep.
And it's like that every generation. So, you know, I'd be totally fine with the cheap cards just not being made anymore, because, well, personally, I don't have any problem buying used cards, because they usually don't tend to fail dramatically within the first 5 years of their life. So, you know, if a generation is 2 years old, then, you know, buying a 2-year-old card isn't going to faze me, especially when companies like EVGA have 3-year transferable warranties. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it. But yeah, anything else on that? What do you got?
I just want to read some stuff from the chat. Is 56 says, MC, no memory loss, straight profit on chips that didn't make the cut on what they were supposed to be. Yeah, I think so, man. That's pretty accurate. Excuse me. I think what AMD is doing is very business minded and not very consumer minded, but I also understand they got to make money. So that's probably all I have to say about that. We're probably about to move on to our next topic here. The last thing I would probably say is that the thing about the warranties on used GPUs and all that good stuff, I personally have done very well with used GPUs. I'd say half the GPUs I've ever, not half, a quarter of the GPUs I've ever had in my entire career, my life, were used. And in fact, there was this one case where I bought a 1080 Ti used, and it broke. It failed. One of the fans stopped spinning on it. And I contacted EVGA. It was within 3 years, right? And I sent it in for RMA. I paid for all that. Then they surprised me by sending me back a 2080 Super. So, I mean, arguably I got a better GPU in that amount of time, and you know, the warranty didn't reset or anything, but it was great. So I don't think used GPUs are as bad as people say they are, especially, you know, if it comes from those people that do deep machine learning 24/7. They tend to know what they're doing and clock their GPUs correctly to make them last longer and be more efficient.
Yeah, 100%. And I think all the, I mean, cards are pretty robust regardless. You know, there are worse things in the environment for a card than just temperature alone. So,
like vaping.
yeah, for one. But yeah, what else? Anything else in chat we have to address?
I'm looking over it, making sure we didn't miss anything. Yeah, pretty much just talking about the 6500 XT and how, you know, it's not that great and all that stuff. But it's not gonna be like this for the next 5 years. No, I'd say within a year or two we'll be back to normal. You buy a GPU, you can't sell for retail anymore. Like I think those days are coming sooner than later.